Hi everybody, welcome to today's webinar. My name is McKay Allen. I'm the Inbound Marketing Manager at LogMyCalls, and we're really excited you're here today and that you've joined us. And we're also really excited that WhatRunsWhere.com is going to explain to us how to spy on our competitors' online marketing, which is useful. So we're really excited for the presentation. First, a couple of quick announcements before we begin. Number one, we encourage you to ask questions throughout the webinar. So if you have those, just type them in to the little questions bar on your GoToWebinar screen, and we will make sure to read those to Max at the conclusion of the presentation, and we can keep track of them as we go that way as well. So just type them into the questions bar. That'll be awesome. Second, just to give you sort of a sense of the landscape and who we are as LogMyCalls, and I'll let Max in a moment talk about what runs where. But we're a call tracking and call analytics company. So we help marketers track which online ads, keywords, campaigns, etc. generate phone calls and which don't. We also provide call recording and conversation analytics. So we can track how many times your customers mention your competitors, how many times your prospects say talk about your competitors, what they're saying about them, and how frequently they're talking about them. All important stuff. And so you might say, well, what on earth, why are we doing webinars? Well, we work with marketers. So we work with a lot of agencies, we work with a lot of in-house marketers, and a lot of small businesses as well. And we decided that one of the best ways we could really help the community we're in is to provide useful marketing information. And so we started doing webinars several months ago, and we brought in some great experts from across all fields in the marketing world and partnered with some great companies like WhatRunsWhere to produce these webinars. And they've been a really good tool to produce useful content. You can see all of the webinars on our site. Just go to logmycalls.com/webinar. And you can see all of our upcoming as quickly as we can get them on there. And then our past webinars are there. The recordings, the full recordings are there, and they do not require a form fill out or anything. So you can just go and listen to those webinars at your leisure. So we encourage you to do that. Now I do want to introduce Max a little bit and then let him introduce what runs where. One more note though, the webinar is being recorded, so you can make sure that you share the recording. We'll make it available to you tomorrow morning in an email. We'll make the recording available. So just make sure you share that recording online on social media and inside your company as well. I do want to introduce Max. He is the CEO of WhatRunsWhere. He is the co-founder of it. He said they founded it 3 years ago in San Diego. He now runs the WhatRunsWhere office in Toronto. They have offices in Toronto and San Diego. They work with agencies. They work with marketers. They work with ad tech companies to try to provide useful competitive intelligence to those companies so they can make more effective decisions about the ads they buy, essentially. So with that, Max, we'll turn it over to you, you can tell us a little bit more about what runs where, and then go ahead with your presentation.
Thanks so much. I really appreciate it. So as said, my name is Max Teitelbaum. I'm the COO of WhatRunsWhere and one of the co-founders here. I do run our office out of Toronto, which means I'm Canadian. So WhatRunsWhere, we're online advertising intelligence for display and mobile media. So we allow people to see what anybody's doing online, track the competitors' ads, see where they're buying, who they're buying through, what ads they're using, sort of the A to Z of their campaign. The reason this is useful is if you can look at what anybody's doing, figure out what's working, what they've spent money testing, and reintegrate that back into your own campaigns, you can save a ton of time and money. So we sort of put together this little webinar about best practices about how to spy and utilize what your competitors are doing to bring it back into your own online marketing. So there are a fair number of frustrations within, the advertising world, especially with display advertising. There are a lot of inefficiencies in it. Your ads may be wasted, they may not be seen, they may be served wrong. We're trying to help fix all that. And if you want to know where your ads are running, it's a timely manual process right now. You have to search through the web, go to where you think they're going, look at your refers, and hopefully you see your ads pop up. I know with us, when we see our retargeting ads pop up, they pop up everywhere, be it on a streaming video site to the homepage of MSN to Google. I mean, I would not know where they go if I did not have correct tracking. And a lot of people don't have the full tracking setup that they should. There are a couple expensive tools out there that can help, but they come with a huge price tag of up to a couple $100,000 a year. The solution is WhatRunsWhere. We offer data intelligence for better decision making when it comes to media buying. As I said, you can quickly browse through hundreds of our ads using our tool, see what anybody is doing online, discover new traffic sources, discover new ads to use, patterns, and we help you save time and money to buy media more efficiently. So did you guys know that only 11% of decisions made in online advertising are actually based on data? And over 50% marketers rely on past experience and or intuition to make decisions. So there's nothing really scientific right now for a lot of the industry. It's sort of, I think this is going to do well, or, you know, this did well 10 years ago, maybe I'll try it again. We're trying to change that. We're trying to make the decision-making process based on data and really actionable to eliminate a lot of this wasted spending, allow people to create great, profitable campaigns a lot quicker. So as I said, WhatRunsWhere fixes all of that. So how can you use WhatRunsWhere for your marketing strategy? You know, step-by-step optimization strategies based on your competitors' intelligence. So what if I was going into WhatRunsWhere as a platform, I can type in anybody online and see their whole display marketing campaign. So we'll use an example of a car company. Let's say that I'm Ford. I would type in Toyota and Hyundai and Nissan, and I would keep going, but that's a very logical step. I analyze other car companies' advertising, but when you're looking at competitive intelligence, you shouldn't only look at your competitors, but you should also look at other companies going after the same market as you. So especially if you're talking about Ford truck, you're looking for outdoors people, you're looking for people that are really active, you're looking for people that have to do hard work, call stuff. So looking at the demographics of people that go to Ford or go to one of the competitors, and then looking for other companies that hit those same demographics can unlock some insights that no one else really has. You can find new places to try and place ads, and you can find new maybe ad strategies based on this sort of vertical thing. Instead of just horizontal, like here are my direct competitors, vertically going out and saying here are people that are going after the same industry. So using WhatRunsWhere, we give demographic profiles from a third party, and we're able to show, if it's Toyota, we're able to show here's who's going to Toyota. People are looking at it from school or work. Some people usually have some college. It's mostly from the U.S., and it's slightly male skewed. If we dive down into Ford, I would guess it's more male skewed. And I'm going to guess here, but I would guess a company like, say, Bass Pro or one of the fishing outlets is a great demographic fit. Looking at where they're doing their advertising could unlock some really great insights into other places I should advertise for, say, Ford. Another way to use WhatRunsWhere for your marketing strategy is just, as I said, this horizontal way. So if I'm Ford and I'm looking at Toyota, I would look at their whole advertising strategy. I would identify the best creatives that they're using. I would identify the best placements that they're using, as well as word usage within their ads. So what words are really important. I would integrate and test this into my existing ad strategy. I would then go in and optimize, and then I would go back in and do another round of testing. Now, you may be asking yourself, how am I going to identify the top creatives, placements, and word usage, or how am I going to know what's doing well? At WhatRunsWhere, that's one of the huge things that we try and do. We try and give key performance indicators into what's doing well. So we have something called ad strength and prevalence. So both of these are scores that give for creatives, placements, and words. It gives it a score. So the higher the score, the better we think it's doing. So you can easily find top performing creatives and placements to test. What do I mean by optimize, rinse, and repeat? When you're integrating this into your existing marketing strategy, it's not sort of a plug-in, walk-away type thing. When you take this information and put it into your marketing strategy, you need to treat it like you would anything else. What it is highly optimized, pre-optimized information, but you still need to optimize after that. Marketing is all about continual optimization. So when I would integrate this in, I would run a standard split test. If it's outperforming my creative, my existing creative, I'd cut it. But then I would go back into WhatRunsWhere, pull another set of ideas, and continually keep testing to strive to find the highest performing creative. I always think that your creatives and placements, they can always be better, and you can always do more. So here's the example with Ford. We could type in Ford.com into the WhatRunsWhere interface, and we could quickly see, you know, if I'm Ford, here's what I'm doing right now, all the networks I'm buying from, where my bears are being stored. I could see the demographics of who's going to my website, the traffic sources I'm buying on right now through my agency or directly, and all my ads. But I would want to do this for my competitors as well. If I'm looking at myself, this is you know, a small list of the 14,000 different places that WhatRunsWhere is seeing Ford advertising on. But here are the places that we think Ford is doing best on. So it's obvious they're obviously advertising on Ford fan sites, on auto sites, and I would bet that a lot of their competitors are doing similar things. But if I can identify some different sites that are similar to what I'm doing best on right here, I can find some great new places to make a bunch of money. I can also view all of Ford's ads, so I can see, you know, what's doing best or what we think is doing best for Ford. And then I could go look at my competitors. So I can look at Nissan, and I can, with that, I can view Nissan's ads and see what ads I think are doing best for Nissan, or Toyota. In this case, it's Toyota.com as the profile, and I'm about to go and search Nissan on WhatRunsWhere. So these are Toyota's ads. So let's look at Toyota's ads itself. What I do when I look at ads as a marketer is I would look at them and I would think, let's spot things that are in common with the ads. There's a call to action, which is, you know, this banner that says explore now, see more, explore more, find out more. The one thing that pops out to me right here is the use of the word more, so that might be something that I want to test into my actual ad copy. They obviously have a picture of their car predominantly. I think that's, you know, a pretty standard thing. They have the name of their car, but there's not really anything else. It's very simple. It's a simple ad with just a picture of the car and one feature. And I think that's important. It's not that, you know, it has all the features of the car. It's their main selling feature. So if I was to take this back into my advertising as Ford, I would take the main selling feature of my car, put that on my ad with a call to action, split test that in. If I look at more ads, again, find out more, learn more, find out more, find out more. But see how they're using find out more a lot? I would then also not only test in the word more, but I would also test in find out more as my call to action and see if that increases my click-through rate. The other thing I really like and that pops out to me, and I love this when people do in ads, and this is one of the great things to, you know, sort of get ideas, is I love this watch video on the bottom left ad. It's another call to action within the ad that also makes people think if they click on that play button, a video is going to start playing in the ad. So it actually increases your engagement and click-through rate. I think that's a really innovative thing that Toyota's actually done. So I would look to do something like that in my advertising as well. So finally, you know, how can I take these strategies that I took from my competitors and how can I make them an interesting, creative way to use WhatRunsWhere's data? Well, as I said, interesting creative approaches, so finding new ways to integrate elements into your ad or find new fresh ideas to make your ads sort of pop. Not only looking at your competitors, but we have a feature called Top Ads where we can show you the top ads in any ad size on any ad network. It's a great way to find these type of ads. So besides that, how do I test all these placements? Before, and this is the great thing about RTB, which stands for real-time bidding, before RTB, you would have to put in individual buys with each of these websites or go to an ad network. This would require a large down payment, and you wouldn't be able to test, so let's say, 1,000 different sites. The wonderful thing with RTB is you can put together a media plan or a site list using WhatRunsWhere and then go out to a real-time bidding platform and test across these 1,000 sites very quickly with a low budget. So by being able to put together a site list with WhatRunsWhere and then go to the RTB platform, you're able to quickly test and optimize your websites. And as I said, optimization is never done. So once you quickly tested your first round of sites, I could take my next best sites using WhatRunsWhere and test through that round as well. So what do I mean by the top ads? Because that might have been a bit unclear. As I said, we have top ads, so it's not by any specific advertiser. These are what we think the top ads for 300 by 250 ads are. And again, I'm going to look for things that are, you know, in common with those ads or things that, you know, pop or stand out. Again, if you look here, there's this video theme in the ad again. I really, really, really like that. And, you know, I would test it out. That's one thing that I would take away as a creative advertising idea. Well, hopefully what we've done is given you a couple ideas about how to use What Runs Where to, creatively come up with some new advertising campaigns. And as McKay said, if there are any questions at the end, I'd be happy to answer them. If you want to find out more about What Runs Where and what we do, you can come visit us at WhatRunsWhere.com. We have live support people that are happy to help you on the site during normal business hours, and we'd love to have you come try us out.
Good stuff, Max. That's awesome. Very cool technology, by the way, as well.
Thank you.
We do have a few questions coming in. I want to wait till the end, though, so keep asking questions, everybody. That's good stuff. I want to talk briefly just about how you could also use Log My Calls to track, do a little bit of competitor intelligence as well. So I'm going to make me the presenter and make sure everybody can see the screen there. Okay, so there's certainly an element with what Log My Calls does that is similar in some ways to companies that do competitive intelligence. Let me give you the brief version, and then we'll just answer a few questions. So essentially, the idea behind Log My Calls is this: you know from every ad you produce, from every PPC campaign that you buy, from every even keyword that is organically searched, you know how many people click and visit your site from all those sources. You probably know even how many form fill-outs you get for all those sources. But the missing link in many cases is how many phone calls are generated from each of those sources. So for example, how many phone calls does your PPC generate? How many phone calls does a specific ad or group of ads in AdWords generate for you? How many phone calls do clicks via retargeting generate, etc.? So the idea with call tracking is that we can tell you all of those things with Log My Calls. So we can tell you precisely how many calls every single online and offline method is generating for you. And that's important. Why is that important? Well, there's a couple of reasons. First, calls are becoming more common as people have smartphones on them all the time, everywhere, number one. Number two, research by several sources indicates that a single phone call to a business is worth about 5x the revenue of a web lead. So if someone goes to the trouble of filling out a form, it still takes 5 times as many form fills as it does to generate the revenue of one phone call. So phone calls are very valuable, and that's why it's important that we track which campaigns, ads, etc. produce them. So what does this have to do with competitor intelligence? First of all, just to give you some background now, there's two things within Log My Calls that we have a lot of clients actually use to determine competitive intelligence. The first is just basic call recording. So when calls come in through Log My Calls, our clients can choose whether or not to record those calls. And some of our clients actually have entire teams of people, or even a few people, that listen to calls and actually pick through and determine how frequently competitors are mentioned. And then they make note of it. They create a little tag for the call. They make note of that, and you can easily and quickly then come back and search and determine how many times competitors are mentioned. Now, this is a manual process, though. So what we've done is we've introduced, and this is in beta right now, it'll come out here in the next couple of weeks actually, a tool called Conversation Analytics. It takes the manual nature of competitive intelligence out of the phone call. Basically what this does is it will analyze calls that come through Log My Calls using speech recognition technology and then proprietary algorithms that we've been building for the last 15 months. So basically, we'll analyze calls that come in. Maybe you want to analyze 1,500 calls a month, a day, a week, whatever, or 2, or whatever the number is. And the minimum call duration you want to analyze is 90 seconds or 30 seconds or 60. Then you can select what you want to measure. Maybe you want to measure lead quality. Maybe you want to measure customer sentiment. Maybe you want to measure sales performance of the person answering the call. Or perhaps you want to measure competitor mentions. So how many times over the aggregate number of calls you get on a day, week, month, whatever, was a specific competitor mentioned? What did they say about that competitor? Are they sensitive to price? Is that why they're talking about your competitor over you? So the idea, and WhatRunsWhere does this in a different space, of course, but the idea is that we're mining phone calls for not just competitor intelligence, which is critical, but intelligence about the lead, intelligence about your employee or your client's employees answering the phone. Basically, we're trying to get as much data from phone calls as companies like WhatRunsWhere do for the web. And that builds competitive intelligence and helps everybody make better marketing decisions. So with that, I do want to open it up to questions. It looks like we've got some questions coming in already. Max, a couple questions for you if you're still there, sir.
Absolutely.
Good stuff. So you had an interesting data point at the start of your presentation, something about how 10, 12% or some really ridiculously silly low number of people actually make marketing decisions based on data. Can you just maybe expound on that a little bit? That's I think, relatively surprising that people aren't using data to make good decisions.
Yeah, this was a stat from the Harvard Business Review. They published an article about 6 months ago with these stats in them. And it makes sense. If you look at the way that advertising agencies buy, and when you've had a planner or a digital buyer and agency for a long time, they sort of have their general wheelhouse that they go back to. They use past experience and intuition. So it's not that they're using no data. They're just using a very limited data set that they've internally generated, which is a very skewed and biased data set. So when with that 11%, especially, you know, with marketers, and when I bought advertising, I ran a very small ad agency for a long time. We do the same thing. We go back to the same people again and again and again and again, and that's where we start our buy every single time. Now, looking back and looking what runs where, we should have started in different places, and it would have been much more successful for us.
So is that, I mean, that seems to be sort of the main use case, if you will, for what runs where, is the ability to say, okay, you're not just basing, what's the best way to put this? You're not just basing data, your marketing decisions off of your internal data. You're basing it off data from all over the web, from all of your competitors, from various industries.
You get a whole view. The analogy I would get is, imagine you're, you know, back in the pioneer days, right? And you get to this giant forest and you have to pick a place to build a house. Doing it off your data is you walk around for a day and you say this space looks the best. Using WhatRunsWhere sort of allows you to have flyover of the entire landscape, and then you can pinpoint the exact best place to put your house.
That's awesome. Using the data, here's a good question. Using the data that you guys gather, do you have any sort of best practices, or I don't know if you gather this stuff, I guess, but do you have any best practices about the specific types of ads that work the best, or you know, design or scheme or topic or call to action, or do you gather that stuff, or can you give us anything anecdotally?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So I mean, from experience, and this is sort of where I fall into that stereotype, ad size wise, 300 by 250 still is the best. Besides that, leaderboards and skyscrapers, obviously IAB standard size ads. But what's sort of most important, and how you spot those trends again, is our top ads feature. If I can look by ad network or by country and expand my date range to the past 90 days versus 30 days versus past week, I can view different trends as they come up. So I can say, you know, here's this sort of call to action, or here's a style of ad that sort of got really hot, and I can test it out. If I see, you know, animation within my ads or a cartoon within an ad is, you know, doing really well. And the other place that I look is direct response. Direct response sort of ideas, and then once brands eventually jump on to some of these ideas. So if you're able to pinpoint, you know, direct response companies, be it someone like Netflix or Quibids, or, you know, or a company like that, versus, you know, a traditional advertiser like Shell, let's say, you're going to be able to see some innovative and interesting ad ideas that you can test much quicker.
That's great. Plus, you're getting intelligence off of, you know, major companies that maybe even are much larger than you are, and you can steal ideas from those people. So that's fantastic.
Exactly.
Got a question here about how this conversation analytics tool work that I'll take. So one of the ideas with this is that one of the major use cases, if you will, this is kind of going away from the competitive intelligence thing for a moment here, but one of the major use cases is gathering sort of a missed opportunity metric. So our algorithms look through the call content and say, okay, what is the likelihood that this call was a missed opportunity? So if the number's over 70, 80%, that's very likely that that was a missed opportunity. So what you could do in that case is you can actually set up a webhook trigger. That could be a text message or maybe a notification to a CRM or a marketing automation tool or whatever, that there was a missed opportunity. And every time a missed opportunity comes through over a certain threshold, that webhook can fire. Maybe the threshold's 70%. When it's above 70%, that means we're 70% or above confident that it was a missed opportunity, which is really good. You could shoot this webhook to a CRM that maybe assigns it to a new sales rep because there was a missed opportunity on a call. Or it could be sent to a manager in a text message that says, hey, there was a missed opportunity on this phone number. So in other words, our goal here isn't to simply pull tons of data out of phone calls. I mean, that's one of the goals. But our primary goal is to provide true automation from phone calls, is to say, okay, instead of just providing you huge amounts of data, let's actually shoot conversion information when maybe there's we're very confident via the system that there's a sale on a call made, for example. Why can't we shoot conversion data to some sort of a third-party conversion tracking platform, which we can do? And so that's the idea. It's not just to tell you what your close rate is for calls, but to actually shoot every one of those closes over to some sort of a third-party platform and track that as a conversion. So that's the idea here. And then final question for you, Max. It looks like, yeah, let me look here through the questions. Yeah, so here's another question for you. Talk about how you guys work with agencies, for example. How do you guys engage with agencies?
Sure.
How do agencies use your tool?
Sure. Well, there are two ways. One is they use it as a sales tool. So as an agency, when you're chasing after a new client, if you can go into your pitch and say, this is what you're doing right now, it's crap, this is why we can do better, it tends to impress the client and ends up in more business. Also, just makes you seem more knowledgeable. The other way, there are two other ways agencies use it. Their internal buyers use it to create better media plans for their clients. So when they're actually going up to start buying on a client's budget, if they can create a better media plan, show a better return, they're going to retain that business and they're going to make more money because the client's going to want to scale their relationship up with them. The other way is a lot of agencies do provide competitive intelligence reports, and they use our data to help create a subsection of that report based on our data that just gives the client a bit more view into their competitive intelligence landscape. It, again, makes it seem like the agency knows exactly what they're talking about, which they do in this case, and it helps them retain and scale up client business.
That's great. Same question for us. How do we engage with agencies? Basically, what a lot of agencies will do is they will not start a PPC campaign, an SEO campaign, retargeting campaigns, or whatever without including call tracking. So they make sure that they're getting credit, if you will, for every single lead they produce. Because what a lot of agencies will do, and this is why a lot of companies leave agencies, frankly. Maybe you're an SEO agency, and your clients, like you're maybe providing traffic reports to your client that shows what you're doing for certain keywords. Well, that's really great, but your clients, frankly, at the end of the day, only care about one thing, and that's their bottom line. They care about leads and they care about revenue. Well, if you can show them that not only are you producing 35% increase in their traffic, you're actually producing a 80% increase in their phone calls, that's a big deal. Because as we said, a phone call actually is more likely to produce revenue than a web lead. It just is. That's fact. So if you can show them that data, that's going to make you stickier. It's going to improve your attrition rates. And then secondly, as you're signing new clients, and I think this is critical to what Max is saying too, as you're signing new clients, you can go to them with data and say, in his case, here's what your competitors are doing, here's what you're doing, here's how it compares. In the case of Log My Calls, you can go to them and say, look, in this industry, doing these tactics, we can reasonably guarantee 100 calls a week or 200 calls a day or whatever the scale is. That's impressive when you can say, here's the results we can reasonably promise based on previous data. That's powerful. I guarantee you that if you do that and they're analyzing and evaluating a few agencies that go in with that level of data are going to win, and they're going to win a lot. We've got one more question that came in here for you, Max. How does this work in terms of searching like affiliate ads? I
Sure.
guess the exact same way, right?
Yeah, right now internally we're building filters to help identify what are affiliate ads and what aren't. Well, one nice thing that we do is we search by landing page URL. So if you plug in an affiliate's landing page, if they're using a pre-sale page, you can view exactly what their campaign is. The other way to do it is we actually show landing page URLs. So for specific ads, you can analyze their landing page URLs and see if they have an affiliate link and what they're doing. And we allow really granular data, so you can drill down to the individual ad and see placements that individual ads running on. So you can, pick apart affiliate campaigns pretty easily.
That's great. And then I'll answer the same question too. We work with a lot of pay-per-call marketers. Pay-per-call, as you may know in the affiliate space, is the fastest growing element, fastest growing part of the affiliate space. As smartphones, continue to take root in mobile search and mobile click-to-call and that sort of thing. So pay-per-call is growing in importance, and right now most of the payouts are actually done on duration. So they will say, okay, we'll pay you affiliate $12 if your call's over 30 seconds or 60 seconds or whatever. What we're saying is there's way more accurate information than duration in terms of lead quality. Duration is just part of the picture, and maybe not really a big part of the picture, because I guarantee you will have lead buyers. For example, in the paid education space, you will have buyers that are willing to pay $2,000 for a call if it's a really good call. So if you're an affiliate, it's to your advantage to produce data like you can get from conversation analytics, because you can charge a lot of money. They will pay you tons of money for good calls, and more than they will pay you just for some random call over 90 seconds. So again, it's all about finding out actual data and not just guessing based on duration. Kind of like what Max was saying at the start, it's better to have data than to just go into it sort of going based on your gut. Even though your gut would tell you a 90-second call is worth more than a 75-second call, it may not be the case based on what the caller actually says during the call, the words he uses. So with that, looks like we've gone through the questions. Max, any final thoughts before we close up shop today?
Not really. I would just encourage everybody to come check both of us out at logmycalls.com and WhatRunsWhere.com. And I think there's a lot of power actually if you use both in tandem, especially if you're doing these pay-per-call ad campaigns. If you can, use our intelligence to create better ads, and then log my calls to analyze what's actually happening on your calls, you're going to come up with a much better funnel that makes everybody a lot more money.
That's right. I think you're going to see over the next several years, we're already seeing it, but companies that get more data are going to make more money than companies that don't. Data is going to win, and it was exciting seeing your tool, Max. Pretty neat stuff. I think that's one thing that frustrates a lot of marketers is they have a relatively small sample size if they're just looking at their internal marketing data. But if you can expand that across the web and see everybody's data and what works for everyone, that's incredibly useful. So very, very cool. So I encourage you again to go check out WhatRunsWhere.com. To close, I want to show you on logmycalls.com where you can find this webinar and others, just as a final thought. So this is logmycalls.com. Sorry, there's a little bit of delay with GoToWebinar for some reason. So logmycalls.com. Go to click right in the middle of the screen. There's a little TV that says Webinar Series. Click on that, and you will see future webinars. And you will also be able to see. So next couple weeks we have a webinar about Facebook marketing. Next week we have a webinar about PPC, and then you can see past webinars here. You can watch the recordings. So yeah, very, very good free content. Use it. Become marketing geniuses. Max, thank you, sir. Thanks for your time. Everybody, thanks for attending today. We'll send out this recording tomorrow morning. Share it on social media. Share it inside your company. Share it all over the place. Max, we appreciate it, sir. Have a great day.
My pleasure.
Thanks everybody.
So much.
Bye-bye.
The